I never thought a regular Tuesday morning could flip my entire life upside down. But that's the thing about moments like this, they don't announce themselves, they just show up, grab you by the arm, and dare you to respond. I remember stepping out of my car just as the sun was climbing over the city skyline that quiet hour when the world hasn't decided what kind of day it's going to be yet. I had my blazer on coffee in one hand, leather briefcase in the other, already running through the schedule in my head. I like arriving early, always have. It gives me space to think, to breathe, to get centered before the noise starts. I was halfway up the courthouse steps when I heard it behind me, sharp, ugly. Loud enough that people turned their heads. "Hey, you don't belong here." I froze for half a second, then turned around confused more than anything. The officer looked me up and down like I was something he'd scraped off his boot. "This entrance is restricted. Take your drama somewhere else." I smiled politely the way you do when you're trying not to escalate things. "I'm actually supposed to be here," I said. Calm voice, steady tone, nothing threatening. That's when he laughed. Not a friendly laugh, not nervous. A laugh full of certainty. "Yeah, sure you are. I've been working this building for years. I know who belongs and who doesn't." Before I could even process what was happening, his hand closed around my wrist. Tight, firm, public. I remember thinking, wow, this is really happening. People started slowing down, watching. Phones came out. Another officer jogged over, and suddenly I was being pulled backward, my heels slipping against stone, my briefcase dragging behind me. No yelling, no explanation, just force. Here's the part that still gets me. I didn't fight. Not because I wasn't angry, not because I wasn't humiliated, but because I knew exactly how this could end if I did. Sometimes survival looks like silence. Sometimes dignity is the loudest thing you have. That was Act 1, even though I didn't know it yet. The hook, the moment where the audience leans forward and thinks, okay, where is this going? Act 2 didn't come right away. It came weeks later in a courtroom that smelled faintly of old wood and coffee, watching that same officer sit on the witness stand like he owned the place. His name, at least in this version of the story, was Mark Collins. Mid-40s, broad shoulders, that posture people get when they're used to being believed. His lawyer walked him through his background, 15 years on courthouse security night shifts, mostly knew every corner of the building, every protocol, every threat. Collins talked about instincts, about reading people, about how some folks just look wrong when they're somewhere they shouldn't be. He said it like it was common sense, like the room would nod along. Then he talked about me, or rather the woman he saw that morning, how I hesitated near the entrance, how I acted defensive, how I couldn't possibly be who I claimed to be. He said he didn't judge based on appearance, he judged behavior, and the behavior he described was me walking toward a door. That's when my attorney stood up. Cool, focused, surgical. She asked when the last time was that he'd reviewed updated personnel lists. He shrugged. Asked how many times he'd physically removed someone from the courthouse. He guessed. 15. 20. Asked how many of those were women who looked like me. Long pause. Then the screens came on. Footage. Not just of me, but of months before. A black court reporter stopped and questioned at an entrance she'd used for years. An Asian attorney asked for 3 forms of ID while white lawyers walked past untouched. Clip after clip, same officer, same tone, same body language. You could feel the room shift. The confidence drained out of him slowly like air leaking from a tire. When it was my turn to testify, I stood, smoothed my jacket, and walked to the stand with my head high. I talked about that morning, about trying to explain about being grabbed before I could finish a sentence. I described the words he used, the way he spoke to me, like I was less than human. I said I stayed calm because I didn't want to give him any excuse to hurt me further. Then my lawyer asked what time I was supposed to be at work that day. I said 9 a.m. She asked why I arrived so early. I said preparation matters when your decisions affect other people's lives. The courtroom got quiet. The defense tried to poke holes. Why didn't I just show ID? Why didn't I say who I was? I looked straight at them and said, because he never asked, and because my right to exist in a public building shouldn't depend on whether someone decides I look important enough. That's when Act 2 turned into the turning point, the twist. I was scheduled to preside over the morning docket, I said. Slow, clear, because I am Judge Elaine Carter. I was appointed to this courthouse 3 weeks before that incident. You could hear the air leave the room. Gasps. Someone dropped a pen. The judge on the bench banged his gavel for order, but it took a moment. Collins stared straight ahead, face pale like his brain was rebooting. The officer who dragged me out wasn't protecting the courthouse. He was stopping a judge from entering her own courtroom. Act 3 came fast after that. The verdict. Guilty on every count that mattered. Abuse of authority. Civil rights violations. Assault. His badge was taken. His career ended in less time than it took him to decide I didn't belong. But the real victory wasn't watching him led away. It was what came next. Policy changes. Independent oversight. Mandatory bias training that people couldn't just skip. A new rule that required verification before force no matter who you thought you were dealing with. And here's the part people don't expect. I didn't feel triumph. I felt tired. Relieved? Sad. Because if this could happen to me, someone with power, with resources, with a platform, what happens to everyone else who gets dragged away quietly off camera unheard? I still walk up those courthouse steps every morning. Same briefcase, same habit of arriving early. But I carry that moment with me, not as a scar, but as fuel. A reminder of why I do this job in the first place. So let me ask you something and really think about it. How many times have you seen someone judged, dismissed, or punished because they didn't look like someone in authority's mental picture of who belongs? How many times has just doing my job been used as a cover for prejudice? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Argue with me if you disagree. Share a story if you've lived it, because conversations like this, uncomfortable as they are how things change. And sometimes the most dangerous thing to a broken system is someone it underestimates.